Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is Secret Romance, issue number 39. I'm not sure of the month. It was June 1976, so this is probably a spring release. It's a nice cover. It's something I could see, selling as like pop art. It's not really reflective of any of the stories in here. But I think when issues were like coming out during the summer, they probably just did general covers like this, hoping that people would just care more about the imagery and feeling. Okay, so got three stories here, two by the same artist, and that artist is one of their best artists. So um, visually, this is a treat. This is a really good comic book. The first story is kind of like the Taylor Swift story. Taylor Swift in the 1970s, if she had got conned out of her money. It's called The Ballad of Corinne Blakely. We see a young woman, probably Corinne, and she's singing out these songs and she's strumming out these songs and she's beautifully sung. She knows that she needs a new guitar, but it's tough to do that because she lives on a farm. Uh, her dad, her dad looks like if they had hired Harry Dean Stanton to be in Breaking Bad. This is what the dad looks like. Except this dad has hair. He looks like Harry Dean Stanton taking meth. So anyway, he finds Corinne. He's wondering why she's not doing the chores. This is, by the way, a grown woman. But she's just saying, I need a guitar string for my guitar. Well, it turns out the two are kind of fighting because he doesn't necessarily want to dump on her dreams, but he's not doing anything to facilitate them. So he's saying, listen, as long as you live on the farm, you're going to do your farm work first, and then your music second. It's not going to work like that if it's the other way around. But Chlorine, she figures she needs to have more practice, and she needs to spend less time doing chores. They're still fighting it out. So, so Chlorine kind of gives in at the. She doesn't really want to give in. She's saying, "Daddy, you don't understand me." And then she's talking to someone who looks kind of attractive, probably a friend of hers, and then they're saying, "Oh, we just had a big fight about my direction in life." So anyway, she's continuing with the song. So this whole narrative is sort of in a flashback that's serving as inspiration for this song that we're sung. And again, this absolutely beautiful artwork. She is hitchhiking here. Around this time in popular culture, there was a huge effort to stop hitchhiking. And there actually is a romance comic that's pretty well known that's kind of an anti-hitchhiker story. So it's a little unusual that they would show this woman hitchhiking here, kind of like Steve Martin in The Jerk.
I'm hitchhiking. How far are you going? St. Louis, how far are you going? To the end of this fence.
But nevertheless, she does find a ride. A trucker stops, yeah, obviously. And she's kind of telling, this is a young, good-looking guy who's the trucker. And she's saying, hey, I'm going to this specific agency. And if you could just drop me by near there. Sort of like, he's automatically expected to know where this, this music studio is. But nevertheless, the guy knows, and he drives off with her, and they're kind of talking. It turns out that he's a songwriter. He's not a good singer, but he's a songwriter. I'm thinking that maybe the two could hook up. She mentions a couple of famous female folk artists at the time. Baez, she said Baez or Collins, and she's referring to Joan Baez and what's her name? Collins. I remember she sung the song "Send in the Clowns." I hated that song with a huge passion. I forgot her first name, and all I remember is that she sung "Send in the Clowns," and I absolutely positively hated that song. Oof. So anyway, they drive to the big city, which I'm thinking is Nashville. She's going in to see this particular producer. The young truck driver knows about this guy, saying that he's a real sleazeball and you shouldn't trust him. But she's determined to go ahead, and she's still singing this song. So again, these flashbacks are kind of serving to the reader that this is what's inspiring her song. The guy likes her music. He looks like a real sleazeball. And he's talking about how they're going to make a whole lot of money together. And some of this dialogue is hilarious. I'm not sure whether it means anything coming from me, but reading it is it's terrific. And he's talking about how great it is. And she says, "Do you mean signing a contract?" And he goes, "I mean bread, honey child. The stuff that makes the world and the music industry go round. Let me show you exactly what I mean." That is terrific dialogue. So anyway, the music producer, he's charming Corrine, saying the stuff I'm doing here I'm going to do for you, and he already has a plan set out. But the thing is, for him to initiate his plan, she needs to front him some money. That immediately is a scam, because if this guy's being totally honest, he's not going to tell the artist, "Hey, you need to pay me X amount of money to cover these early expenses." He or she will take those expenses because they know the investment will pay off. So this is a scam immediately. He's putting a lot of effort into it. It's only like $500, which is a lot. He takes her to a restaurant. Really, she's really struggling because she does have the money, but the thing is, it's pretty much all she has. So like, if she gives him this money, she's penniless. But nevertheless, he's still relentless, going on and on. It needs to be exactly $500. Suddenly, the truck driver shows up. Bill was the truck driver, and it turns out he says, "Listen, I've been stalking you, and I've seen enough. And this guy, he's trying to rip you off of your $500. She still doesn't believe him, and he's the music producer who's trying to scam this girl. He's mouthing off to the kid. He tries to swing at the kid. Bill, when I say the kid, I mean Bill. He slides to the right, and then he hits the guy with the right hand back, really knocks him out. And Corrine's like, "We still have a record deal, don't we?" So anyway, Corrine is still on this guy's side, and Bill just walks off. It took him to this point to realize that he can't talk sense to her. So the music producer's named Cy. So Corrine and Cy, they start to get romantically involved. Beautiful artwork of Corrine in her underwear in bed. I'm wondering where the artist was from. Some of it looks, I'm thinking it might be Italian, from Spain, Portugal, the Philippines, and also, I'm thinking it's probably an artist from one of those countries. It fits the style. So anyway, Corrine, she wakes up. She's really happy. She goes in the shower. This is like the first day of this plan that she gave this guy $500 to. It turns out that Cy left, he just left a note on the door saying, "To whatever chicks it may concern, Songbird has flown the coop. Bye bye, sigh." So he took the money. So she was scammed. The Bill had warned her, but she now realizes that she was scammed. She's upset, but nevertheless, Bill's gonna try to help her, recover that money. And he says, "We'll go home. We'll work this out." And Bill's like, "I believe in you, sweetie." And turns out that the dad's a little understanding. After all this, the dad says, "You know what? I'll make some accommodations, and I'll get a music teacher out here to help you out. You still have to do your chores, and you still have to follow our rules, but I'll actively help you out by bringing in a tutor," which is really what she wanted. She just wanted some training. And eventually, it looks like she became a big star. We see she gives the song's credit to her husband, Bill Oakley. So they married and they're successful, and that thing with Cy was just a bump on the road to them. The husband kind of looks like a sleazy version of Schneider from One Day at a Time. So anyway, that was a good story. This couple will last. I see it. Okay, so the next one's called Smart Chick, and she is definitely not a smart chick. This woman is a moron. This is the type of woman, if you go to a YouTube channel called Catfish Media or something like that, what they do is they focus on these romance scams. And you'll see a romance scam where a wife sends family's life savings, loses home to Nigerian scammer. This is the woman who gives the Nigerian romance scammer $100,000.
Ah, baby.
So anyway, I'll start the story. It opens up kind of in Vegas, kind of this showgirl setup. This is a really rundown version of it. Really sleazy. One of the dancers there, the quote-unquote smart girl, she sees a guy at one of the tables. She's kind of just there to entertain him, but they kind of hit it off. And then they actually they go on a date, because her job is to be nice to the customers, but not to date them or be romantically involved. But nevertheless, she sort of made that one exception. I think I saw that a few times when I worked in retail. I would see one employee basically get a date from a customer or another employee. I dated one employee at one retail place. What was I gonna think of? Anyway, they're on their date. Again, I'm really high. So they're on their date and everything's going well. And they say, "Hey, do you want to check out the dam?" It's fine. They do tourist stuff. So they're doing tourist stuff. Everything's going good. She knows like a nice Italian place. They're just, what? It's like hitting it off with someone. You meet someone for the first time and you just hit it off with them. Okay, so before I go back to the story, be looking at this ad for watches. $30. Wow, that's quite a bit of money back in 76. And you get 2-year guarantee. Hey, good luck enforcing that. And you just see various sort of nostalgia logo like Star Trek, Elvis Presley, stuff like that. You get a choice. You get Elvis Presley, a Kojak watch, Chico and the Man watch. You get Zodiac. Oh, the Zodiac, the Beatles. Yeah, Chico and the Man. What? You're gonna have that watch. So anyway, going back to the story again. The guy, Gabe. His name is Gabe, and she's Sandra. They're just hitting it off. Gabe's a ginger, and Sandra's a showgirl on stage, but she's kind of just like a regular, outdoorsy girl. Same way, it turns out the guy leaves. He's going back home. I think he was on vacation. She lives in Vegas. She doesn't think she's going to see the guy again. So she's upset, but she's accepting the fact that, hey, this is not likely going to continue. I need to move on. Sandra, ever the gold digger, she's always looking for dates on the job, at work. And she meets another guy who's, again, a little older, he's less creepy, but he's not a ginger. So they're hitting it off. His name is Joe. He's like a rich guy, super rich guy. And he wants to marry her. And she wants to hold off on the decision, at least for a couple of days. But she's still thinking of Gabe, that guy that she had basically a bunch of good dates with before, he left. And she still wants to give that guy a chance. I mean, you should have at this point moved on. She finds out where he lives, some small town. Then she finds out that guy Gabe is in the hospital. She's horrified. And I think she takes the plane from Nevada to Wisconsin. And she has to go to a small town in Wisconsin. So when she lands, there's no Uber to help her out. So, but nevertheless, she flies there. She's taking the red eye. Jeez. She goes, checks the hospital. He finds the guy, Gabe, there, the ginger, and now this is weird. That Gabe had a back injury. So Gabe went to the hospital saying he had a back injury. But then Sandra says the doctor said you didn't have a back injury. And one of these is wrong. I mean, if Gabe has this weird fetish about going to the hospital when he, with these made up injuries, that should bother Sandra. And say that Sandra really doesn't know this guy. Meanwhile, she got to know the rich guy. Same way she marries the ginger, who she hardly knows anything about, because we know it was a short time frame that they were dating, but she was dating and being with the other guy longer and got to know him. And she could have just married him because he wasn't a terrible looking guy. I think that's, they were trying to get the story that, true love, doesn't see money. But the thing was, it's like, the rich guy, he still met her standards. He was a good looking guy, he was very nice, blah, blah, blah. And she just went for this fantasy. Because she doesn't know how this guy will work out in the long term. Oh man, you gotta have standards. Not just preferences. Okay, so before I go to the last story, take a look at Buck's bag. Okay, so the first one is from a 15-year-old girl. She's going out with an 18-year-old guy. The guy went back to Mexico, and she hasn't heard from him since. I'm assuming that they were in the States when they were first dating, and she heard that the kid is going out with other girls, and that he he wants her to wait for him, but he's not he's not going to rush to meet her. So basically, it sounds like this guy wants to put her in his back pocket, kind of just use her when he needs her. Buck kind of sees through this and tells her, this guy's just playing you, and you should, and there's no sense for you to just wait for him. And if you want to go out and have fun, just go out and have fun. I think that's good advice. Another one's from a girl. She was going out with a guy named Mike, but some of her friends are saying that he's a user, and then he said, yeah, Mike has a girlfriend on the side. He's going back to her, so he's kind of being a jerk to her. Yeah, he's kind of saying, yeah, your friends suck, and that this boyfriend, he's just using you. Just dump him. Okay, yeah. Why be with someone who's making you unhappy? Okay, the next one. My problem is my cousin. Oh yeah, whenever she has a guy, whenever she has a boyfriend, her cousin does everything she can to steal him away, and she doesn't like it. And she's saying, "What should I do?" Buck kind of gives some bad advice here, saying that she should do the same thing her cousin is doing. So if her cousin is going out with someone, she should flirt with him to show her how bad it feels. But the thing is, you're involving someone else who's totally innocent of what's going on between these two. And also, what if the guy turns out to be a psycho and he goes with her, and how is she going to explain, hey, I was just doing that to make her feel bad, and suddenly you got this violent idiot, all upset, or you're hurting people's feelings and they're crying. So yeah, that was kind of bad advice. And the next thing is, hey, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, she said, just stand up to yourself, just call it out, and let your cousin know that she's being a jerk and you should avoid her. Yeah, that's probably better advice. So anyway, going back, we see Charleston's subscription offerings. They largely focused on genre stuff, like romance or mysteries or war or westerns, the stuff that the other big companies weren't doing. They have a few properties like the Flintstones and Hong Kong Phooey, like Space 1999. Sometimes they would have licensed properties. Okay, the next one is again extremely well drawn. There's some funny stuff here, some passive aggressiveness stuff. They just gaslight this poor guy here. Anyway, the story starts with a young woman, very attractive young woman, lots of bell bottoms. And she's telling the story about how her father is a fisherman and how they adopted a young boy at 10 years old, and how she eventually fell in love with him. So they were probably both around the same age. He comes into the family as an adoptee, and so they have this kind of brother-sister relationship, similar to the Brady Bunch, where it wasn't a blood issue. It was, sort of step-brother, step-sister, and then they kind of grow up and they become romantically involved. It's kind of weird. I think that's weird, going from like one relationship like that to another. So anyway, she's sort of a helper, and her name is Flo, and the guy's name is Chuck. So the father and Chuck, they're going out because they're fishermen. She notices the weather's really bad. She's thinking about her life because she wants to marry Chuck. She actually enjoys where she's staying. So she wants to know, what's it like to be a fisherman's wife, because it actually is a really dangerous field, and it can also be very isolating. And while Flo wants that, she wants to kind of also know what are other options, what are things I should be prepared for. Same way they're talking about so Flo is asking her mom about her dad and what it's like to be a fisherman's wife. She says, yeah. You have to accept the realities, certain realities, that they love what they're doing, no matter how dangerous it is. There's a storm going on, and the radio's reporting this storm, and they're saying that any small sea crafts in the area they need to return, and they're small fisher boats. The mom here is drawn like really ancient. Like she looks like Aunt May grandma. Like if Aunt May had a grandma, that's what the woman here looks. So they're both concerned. They're concerned for the same people. So again, she's experiencing what it's like being a fisherman's wife. Well, it turns out the Coast Guard contacts Flo and her mom, and they tell them that they found Chuck. So at least whatever disaster happened, Chuck survived it. But he feels terrible. He has bad news for her. He said that, I don't know what happened to your father. There was nothing I could do. And at this part here, this beautifully drawn panel is totally fucked up. He's explaining to Flo what happened. That basically they were caught in a storm, and that something hit him in the head, and he was knocked unconscious. And when he woke up, he was in an atoll. That's like a small little area of surface in the sea. And this part's fucked up. And she goes, "You swam all the way there to an atoll while you were unconscious?" Bitch, he did not say that. He said that he woke up there. He didn't say he swam there, but she said he swam there. So she's totally gaslighting this guy. And there was another guy, some I guess regulatory captain, is saying he overheard that, and he's saying, "Yeah, explain to us how you could swim there unconscious." And rather than fighting back and simply saying, "I didn't say what this bitch said I said," he goes along with it. And he's saying, are you trying to say that I was a coward and I let my captain die?" And that's what they're doing. And he's playing along with that argument. And this other captain, he kind of says something, listen, being a coward isn't a criminal offense. It's just between you and your conscience. So he's just saying, hey, listen, legally, being a pussy isn't a crime, but you're a pussy. She's still gaslighting him, saying, hey, I know you're not a coward because I would never marry a coward. I mean, holy shit, she's the one who started, and she's continuing. She has her doubts about him. She is gaslighting herself at this point. Same way the mom is talking to her adopted son, saying, listen, we know you're a pussy, but you don't have to be ashamed to be a pussy. and the guy's just going, I'm not a pussy. So anyway, no one believes him. No one really believes him when he's accused of being guilty of this thing that he never said he did, from his gaslighting would-be wife. Again, the art is really beautiful, but however, they're concerned about the bills because even though they're mourning their father, hey, someone has to pay the electric there. He tries to get work, but this is so funny. He tries to get work at other boats, but they said, no, we don't have need of a guy of your services, since everyone thinks that Chuck abandoned him. But the captain does say, listen, why don't you go down to the clam bar? And it's in quotations. And they're looking for a dishwasher. And there's two other characters who use the term clam bar. So if you're wondering what clam bar is, Who loves eating clams? Lesbians. Why? Because they're always eating pussy. Clam, pussy. So basically, they're calling this guy a pussy. And the worst part is that in this panel, he's agreeing he's a pussy. But so he'll take the job at the clam bar with the other pussies, because I accepted my place as a pussy. Even though she's totally responsible for that. But they're talking about the life savings. And oh yeah, he needs to make money because he doesn't want to spend his life savings. So he's heading out to the clam bar wearing an ascot. So I guess if you think of yourself as a pussy, you wear an ascot. So it turns out the other fishermen they're making fun of him, talking about how Chucky was a coward and he didn't save his adopted dad. And Chucky's like, stop that. So they're like spoiling for a fight. Chucky pops one sailor in the face. Other sailors are trying to go after him. Chucky is fighting back. And it turns out that one of the sailors wants to belt Chucky in the back of the head, Chuck. And he's stopped by a sailor. And we see the sailor in silhouette. And before they recognize who it is, Chucky says, hey, thank you for helping me out. And the old guy says, hey, not a problem. You've helped me before. And it turns out the old guy is the father. So the father did not die or was drowned as everyone initially thought. And it turned out that after Chucky was knocked unconscious, it was the father who swam Chucky to that little atoll. So he was able to stay there. And then the father went back to try to rescue the boat or try to get a boat so they could get out of there. But the father got caught in a riptide. So he was dragged out to sea. And it turned out he was able to survive that time. So that time that they thought the father was dead, he was still out there struggling, and he eventually got back home, and he was like all nice and dry, and he was able to kick that guy's ass. So so it turns out that Chucky's totally cleared of the crime that his dumbass fiance accused him of, gaslit him of. So it turns out Chucky's a simp. He's gonna go back to his abuser, and he'll probably give away the life savings to a Nigerian scammer.
Habibi.
So anyway, that's it. That's my look at Secret Romance number 39 from July 1976. And I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.